Well, hello, everybody. Jan, thank you so much for hosting us today as I get full screen set up here for you so you can all see it as well as possible. So, as Jan said, I'm Heather Nelson. By day, I work at the university. I've been a professor. This is my 22nd year, and I specialize in a subject matter that is fairly, you would say, new, but it's really not necessarily new anymore, but entrepreneurship and innovation. So I'm around our next generation of students that are wanting to open businesses, create new cool things. And I think that's where I get a lot of my fuel from, as I like to say. Well, it happened to me about 3 years ago. It was 2022, and you might remember we made national news. The picture that I have in the upper left-hand corner, talks about the tumultuous year that we had. In 2023, it became acrimonious. But in 2022, I came home and I was eating dinner at my kitchen table. It's a true story. I saw a mom testifying on a news clip. I still today to this day do not know who the mom was. I don't know the bill she was testifying, but I felt pulled to help this mom. And I thought that there needs to be a better way that all of us as citizens first know about the hearings prior to and have an opportunity. I realize now that you can provide online comments. I will be the first to admit I didn't back then. I actually was getting ready to take the day off of class and go down and help her the next day, but the hearing was over. It is just a 1 day item. And this must have been really, really heavy on my heart because, as the story goes, 2 weeks into the future, I woke up about 3 in the morning and I had a very prolific vision. I had my phone in my hand, and on it, it said, Heather, how would you like us to vote for you on this bill tomorrow? For or against? And I thought, why don't we have something that simulates election night 365 days a year, where our elected officials can ask us those questions and be able to bring our voices in on the front side of legislation creation? If we think back to how expensive this last November election was with all the ballot initiatives and all the fundraising, all the costs that it took just to get those ballots on our voting mechanism, it's incredibly expensive. So if there's a way that we can be involved on the front end conveniently, where we aren't expected to have to go down in person and testify, that's a long day for someone to take off work, drive to Lincoln, and spend there just to be able to render their voice. So I spent about the first year of 2022 to 2023 asking this question that you see on your screen. When was the last time your elected official reached out to you? I talked to over 1,000 people, private citizens, current seated elected officials, prior elected officials. And for those private citizens that I asked this question to, it was very few people that actually had been reached out. If they had been talked to, it was because they were already known to be of a particular socioeconomic representation that a bill that was being worked on was being talked about. Otherwise, it was almost like crickets of having this involvement. This brainstormed the platform. So poll the vote. I asked the state of Nebraska to listen to this story because I had been searching for a technology across the United States and I didn't find anything that had been in existence. We put together a business plan and presented it to the state that what if Nebraska could be the first state to create a sentiment collection platform? It's got to be a third party owned. It has to be neutral, nonpartisan, but it simulates election night 365 days a year. And they started listening so much that we received a prototype grant in October of 2023, which helped jumpstart the actual creation of the software itself. Now we are fully functional. We came out of the blocks about mid-January of 2025. But I want you to know that there were 19 Nebraskans that worked on the back end, everything from prototyping to architecting what you see to creating the branding and being able just to get us to this particular point. But we're happy to say that we are running on what's called a responsive website. I have held back the applications into the App Store And that is just because it's hard to get that first application. And I wanted to make certain that we were in the best spot to be able to do so, that we had everything functioning the way we did. And I chuckle because as we've seen our president announce his 100th day today, ours was just yesterday. So right after our 100-day remark, we are now ready to apply for our application. So you'll start to see those come out. But right now it is responsive, so you can use any type of device that you would like to be able to use it. It does work just like an app, but it runs on the URL environment. At the end of the day, pull the vote. We are a constituent communication and management software system. We sit between you as individuals and your elected officials. I tell people it took me a long time to realize, but we're like PayPal in 1999. If you remember when PayPal launched, we were all kind of looking at each other like, who's that? Do we give them our banking information? And what is it that they're doing? Well, PayPal is a transaction channel that sits between you and your merchants, and you point to a merchant and you say, pay that merchant this much money. And they do, but they anonymize. They put up a wall to protect your personal banking information. We're no different, except instead of transacting money, we transact personal sentiment or your information. We also put up a wall. When you come in and create your account, we actually have our attorneys tell us a patent pending eligible, or patent eligible, we haven't filed yet, methodology. So we do ask 30 fields of questions at the beginning. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it's the one and done process. We do not ask that information again. If your personal information changes, you can certainly go in and edit it at any time. But the reason why we ask that up front is so that when we ask you a quick question, it mimics what my vision did on the phone. All you have to do is say, yep, this is coming from Poll the Vote. I know they're legitimate. They are not selling my data. And you can answer for, against, yes, no, however it is the question is rendered to you. And we are able to quickly data mine that from an insight report. We aggregate it, we anonymize it, and we provide that data over to the senators so that they are able to see what their constituents want, but they can also see all the other 48 districts. They can break it down, or we break it down for them by congressional district. And we also give them a little bit of background as to the persona of the individuals that participated. So that might be things by party, gender, age, ethnicity, geographic location. So we're very pleased that we've been able to come full circle and actually do this. We started with LB3. If you participated, you might have seen that particular bill. But when you came into your account, if you don't have one yet, you would see things like a participation request to participate in any open polls. So let's talk a little bit more about if you would like to create your user account, what does that look like? So you create the account, you answer the 30 questions, and we privatize all of those answers. We bifurcate them, which means we're separating them apart, and we are securing each data piece individually. And that helps from if we were ever had somebody that would come in, but again, we've invested in a significant amount of security to prevent that as well. But if someone would ever get anything, they're going to get one data point that is rendered useless because it is anonymized. When you come in, this environment is unique to every single one of you on the screen. Y'all have a different view. And my view is showing you this first row. These are my elected officials based upon where I am at in Nebraska. Now, each of these accounts are also office accounts. That's the other aha moment that we had is we're bringing constituents in and we're collecting your sentiment. But why don't we go ahead and just connect you straight off to your elected officials? So you can click into each of these tiles, think of it as a billboard on the highway, and you can go into their accounts. And then on the back end, these elected officials have a whole suite of tools to visit with you. Senator Von Gillern is my state senator. And in my interview with him, I learned that the state of Nebraska budgets for each state senator 1,000 US postal stamps a month. He has 40,000 people. So I said to Brad, all right, you're going to take 40 out of your 48-month term to even have enough postage to send something to us. And keep in mind, they don't have email addresses. So they have a very challenging time frame on their office side to even talk to us unless we call them, unless we email them, or now unless you participate with Pull the Vote. So I said to Brad, Brad, I'm going to put in a digital newsletter creation system for you inside your office account. Because if we're bringing the constituents and we are assigning them to your office account already, I can give you a whole set of tools to communicate back with them, one being a newsletter. We have also created our own social media Twitter universe, which sits inside Pull the Vote. So all these elected officials can post out little messages about town halls or bills or things that they're working on. And eventually you're going to see a whole screen coming into your environment that allows you, just like Facebook, to scroll down, but you won't have any personal information. There won't be any junky ads. It's just going to be the messages coming in from the organizations, the decision makers, the candidates, the elected officials, any nonprofit directors that happen to be using the system that you're following. You'll see their messages in a nice clean mode. So this is a screen print that I have up right now. It's not an interactive item, but I will go into the live technology for you. The next big aha moment that we realized is, you know what? Our community also wants to talk to us. So why don't we kind of wrap around the opportunity for all of our community organizations to also use the system? Your homeowners association account, your church, your school, your Boy Scout, Girl Scout troops are all available to have office accounts as well. And we do. We've got a lot of community organizations. You can see at the bottom, we've got Voices for Children, North Omaha Community Partnership, quite a few public interest organizations like the League of Women Voters, and then small businesses. Like over to the right, you can see my favorite brownie bar. All right. So when you come into your system, there's quite a few things that you can do. You can take advantage of polling. Our candidate-elect for mayor of Omaha, John Ewing, is still running a digital town hall, and he's asked people on the system, what would you like in your next mayor? What are your priority points? And he said, here's my priority points. What are your top ones? So that he is collecting that information. And yes, we've talked with Stothard as well. We are a nonpartisan, so we've given opportunity for everybody. And at the time that I created this, she hadn't had her account opened up yet. But again, we just sit in the middle of being a neutral, nonpartisan software platform for people to use. Senator Juarez is a prior school board member out of South Omaha. And when she first went through training to become a new state senator, this is her classified freshman year, she started asking people, how do you manage your constituents? And she was referred to me, and they said, go talk to Heather. She's got this software. So Senator Juarez, after having a conversation with her, said something that was very humbling to me. And she said, I wish I had this when I was a school board representative. So she's been a good champion for using all of the tools. So much so that she's running her own polls to both people that are in just her district in District 5. And then we've also opened up some of her polls statewide because as I visited with her, they're really universal questions that aren't limited to just people being in South Omaha that we thought that she would want to have information on. And you can see in this picture, she's on the floor of the legislature and she's holding one of our data reports and she's reading in the results that she did get on LB 504 back in earlier April. They are also using the announcement system, which works a little bit like Twitter or Facebook. And then they're using the newsletter creator so that they have been creating the newsletters and sending them out to their district. So it's very, very exciting to actually see all of this come full circle. What I'd like to do is pop over and show you about our particular home web page. If you're new to Pull the Vote, you can click up on the login. and that'll take you straight to the same screen to create your new account, or you can click on the Get Started button either way. But I do want to point out a couple of things that you might keep your eye on. At the bottom, we do put out our different blogs, most latest blogs do show for you. And one of the items that we have featured is the LB3 LR24CA winner take all poll results. So I'll share with you a little bit about how that took place. But before I move off of this, I also want to point out that we have provided all of our privacy policy, our terms of agreement for you, and it is free for you as an individual to use. We do not charge. We don't collect banking information, any of that. And that was something that our company proudly decided in that we wanted everybody in the United States to be able to use the system no matter what one socioeconomic means is. It was very critical to make this accessible for everybody. In the privacy policy, you're going to see that we do not sell your personal identifiable data. We will not do that. We do not do that. We've invested quite a bit in security, again, to separate, do the bifurcation, make certain we're pixelizing you, and again, throwing up a window of anonymity. I oftentimes refer to it as you become an avatar on the system so that people don't know who you are, and only our data that is collected is aggregated and anonymized. Our team doesn't even have access to anyone's personal answers that are coming through the system. And that was something I took from my old banking days, that in the banking world, the technology took great pain to protect people's personal information. And we did the same similarly, because this is very important. This is your personal sentiment. All right, let's go back and let's take a look at, whoops, I clicked on the wrong one. Sorry about that. This is actually an article that was written by Nathan Leach. If some of you know who Nathan is. I'm sorry, I've got a lot of windows open. I need to get back to where I want to go, right here. Okay. All right, so you might have seen me go down and testify on LB3 back in early or late January when it first happened. And we were the only party to testify in the neutral standpoint. Again, we do not represent one side or the other of any ideologic spectrum. We are simply bringing in the data just like on election night and reporting what those results are. And I think that was pretty common, or not common, because we were the only individual that testified in the neutral standpoint. But I have posted out for you all of my communication with the senators. So you can see all of the data reports, all of the sentiment. I do summarize overall what the sentiment is that is coming in, but I take great care not to tell the senators how to use the data. That is, again, us staying neutral. We're just bringing the data to them. And in fact, if some of you were watching today, we heard many, many times a new word that many of our senators have been throwing around on the floor of the legislature. I wrote it down. It is anecdata, if anyone heard that. So I had to look up, what is anecdata? Well, I guess I now am running an anecdata business. Anec is where you're taking people's opinions or stories, you're capturing them, and then you're translating them into data reports that people can actually make decisions from. So I'm really, really excited that our senators are recognizing anecdata as an opportunity to help drive decision making for our state. As you scroll
Heather,
down, yes, yes.
sorry to interrupt you, but we're only seeing the QR code, so I want to make sure that's what
Oh,
you're intending to show, or if you had something else. So
I
thank you.
am completely on something else. So thank you so much for telling me that. Let me back up. Okay, so I'm gonna back up a couple of places then. On our home website, I'm gonna start up at the upper right-hand corner where you can see the login and the get started. So Jan, are you able to see my web page now?
Yes, sorry I didn't mention that checking before. So
No, no,
thanks.
you're just fine. So as I scroll down, I was mentioning that towards the bottom is where you will see a lot of our latest news, or you can just click on the news button at the top. But very far down at the bottom is where you're going to see the privacy policy link in the terms of service. I mean, it's sincerely my goal that when you receive a notice from us, you know it's pull the vote, you know how we're caring for your data, and you're able to participate right away. All right, so let's go back into the LB3. And I was just starting to show, thank goodness, Jan, you piped in when you did, some of our actual data results. And we provide many, many charts and graphs, but these are the two that we put out for each report for the public view. And it happens to show the congressional district results and then also the 49 senators. Now, at this particular time, I want to say I think we only had about 42 senator districts participating. We now have 48, so we are continuing to spread naturally across the state of Nebraska, which we're thrilled about. But I want to go into the live actual platform if you haven't already been in there. So once you get your account created, your environment's going to look a little bit like Netflix. So think of rows and then columns. In the upper right-hand corner, we have a new notification button. So you can click on it and it will show you when you have a new newsletter or a new announcement or something new that's coming from an organization that you're following. You can click to go directly into the polls. You can click to go into your office accounts, read about the elected officials, and then look who we have the League of Women Voters, Greater Omaha's office account sitting right on the left-hand side. And if I click into there, you're going to be able to read, learn how to become a member, click to their 411, which they have an amazing candidate fact list that is phenomenal. That if you're looking for good information, it's a good source, and they have it both in English and Spanish, and I've linked them both into their account. All right, my goodness, that went very fast. Does anyone have any questions for me that might have popped up? As I always say to the students, someone give me a good question. Oh, there's something in the chat box. Oh, John, yes, the pull together slide. Thank you. I didn't see that.
Heather, I had a question. This is
Yes,
Paula Crozier, and I
hi,
was just
Paula.
wondering, what has your feedback, and maybe I missed that, but what has your feedback been from the senators that have you've worked with on this?
Thank you. That is such a good question, Paula. It has been incredibly strong that I have a meeting with a senator coming up here at the end of this week. And she said to me, I think you've built the system that I've been looking for. And we were talking a little bit about how hard it is. If you think about it, a senator is running a business. They're running a business inside their office. So some of them have campaign websites, senator websites, social media that they are running. Remember, they don't have a constituent dash base, just it's actually built in like what we can bring them. And to give you an example, if they're going to send out a poll or a survey, they would go to an instrument like SurveyMonkey. They would create that survey, they would get that link, and then they still have to do something with the link. They have to go post it on all of their channels. But with our system, you don't. You create the poll, you hit send, and it goes out to the people that are already built in, and they can choose whether or not they want those just to go out to their constituents or do they want it to go out to more people at large. So I'm really, really, in fact, I'm just overwhelmed at how fast this has gone. As I mentioned yesterday was our, excuse me, 100 days. And we have several senators using it in different ways. Obviously, the information I shared with you from Senator Juarez is full scale. She's using everything. But we've had other senators run digital town halls, which imagine the ability if your senator was running a digital town hall that at any time you could get on and you could post a question, post a thought, give an opinion, and you know that that information is going right into their office where they can collect and they can see that. That's a good question. Thank you, Paula. And I didn't even set you up for that. No, there's been no setup questions. I think we have something else in the chat. Let me go look at that. Oh, thank you, Jean. I'm glad that you see good value in the platform. I tell you, this has been the craziest thing I think that I've done in all the businesses that I have been a part of. But it's been one of the most beautiful things to meet new people and to be able to help collect people's personal sentiment and be able to have them trust us with that data and the results, and then be able to have the senators recognize our brand and know when my email comes in that they're getting results, and to see their excitement and being able to open it up. I've had many senators that call me and say, can I, in fact, two come to mind, and two that are, oftentimes the swing votes, and they say, can I ask you a few more questions about what my people are saying? So I appreciate that they're looking at us in that regards.
Heather, can I follow up mine with a little bit more texture?
Mm-hmm.
So we just recently did two back-to-back candidate forums here in Lincoln. And one of the questions we asked is, how are you connecting with your constituents to know what they think? And I attend one of my city council he calls it, a town hall, but all it is having other people come and talk for him.
Mm.
Um, so I'd like to encourage, these our city council in particular, county commissioners, to utilize something like this. So, yeah, that's, I want to get real local on this. So how can I get them?
Jean,
Yeah.
that is so amazing, because that is a top that question that we have had is I see that you have mayor up through, if we scroll to the right, we go all the way up to the president's office. But we are just getting ready to come out with a new version that will allow us to go deep dive into the local environment. So we will definitely be turning on city council as the next thing. I would love to be able to get school board, because I've had school board people call me and say, how can I turn this on? And I think it's also because Senator Juarez is telling a lot of her former school board companions about the system. I've even had people say, "Can you put the judges up there? Like, I'd like to be able to know who they are or see who they are." And obviously, as a new startup, I'm going to start going step by step. So, city council and school board are my next two that I'm really focused on. Now, I had a Nebraska school board representative ask me, can she use the system? And I said yes. But instead of right now us taking the time to code that out on the technology side, I would have her just open up an organization account, and we would be able to plug her in immediately that way. So we can do one-off specialties. So Jean, if you or someone that you know is interested, I'd be happy to work with them and figure out how to get their representation going.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's a great question. And Lincoln has a big election coming up as well. So we know that people have this particular topic on their radar, and they're trying to mobilize and get involved. So we're hoping this system will help.
Heather, there's a question in the chat.
There is. Let me go. I might have missed it. Let's see. Tracy says, have you approached federal officials, congressmen, senators, and suggest to use, and Governor Pillen? So we were supposed to meet with Governor Pillen 2 days after he had his accident back in November. So we've been delayed for getting back into his office. But he does know about us. And he is having us work with Senator Arch and the clerk of the legislature, first and foremost, to hopefully have our senators test the system and be able then to look to see if the legislature's technology budget could purchase a subscription for all 49 state senators unilaterally to use. As we've discussed with Pillen's office team, we don't want one senator's district to be able to have access and using it. We want everybody, of course, and that's, I realize, personal from my perspective, but I mean truly from a business, we want equal access to everybody in the state of Nebraska. So have we gone to our U.S. representatives. Yes, we have. We have had very good support from Don Bacon's office. We learned a lot, and there are differences in having those that are at in Washington, D.C. versus those in state in how they get to make decisions on using software. So, for example, a digital platform like ours that is also dealing with people's personal data, we do need to apply through the Sergeant at Arms, which is a person through the White House, and have an interview with them in order to become approved that our data is secured in the way that is needed in order to transact and do business at the federal level. So Bacon's office is helping us go through that process right now. I don't know how long it's going to take us, but to give you an example, we know that Constant Contact, that's been around for a long time, just got approved on that list. And I'm hoping that they've already broke down a lot of doors for us that we can ride right behind that and get approved. And that would open us up for all, excuse me, 50 state Washington, D.C. representatives to use. Now, can they use it personally? They can. So those are some of the workarounds that we've been talking about as well. Senate Bacon's office has reviewed our data and our security and likes what we were able to show, so much that they did give us a letter of support for a federal grant that we are gearing up to apply for as well. That would help us to be able to do some additional iteration on our software. And that would be through the National Science Foundation. Technically, as a data analytic company, which is what we are at the end of the day, we're classified as a metric measurement science organization, and we would be eligible for federal grant money through that. So we have also worked with the university to tee them up as possibly being some partners on that particular federal grant too. We have, let's see, we've also talked with Pete Ricketts' office, and because those are our main two that are here in Omaha, that's where we've stopped. So I'm trying to get through the Sergeant at Arms application. If anyone has any good suggestions on speeding that up, that would be great. It's a good question. Thank you, Tracy.
Jan, I had a question for you. I know
Sure.
you're recording this. Who are you going to be distributing this out to? Because I'd like to share
Uh,
with some members of my
yeah,
board.
well, I'll share it with you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Heather, I was going to ask, so beyond Nebraska, has there been outreach in other states, other geographics that, either at the state or local levels,
Mhm.
that are going on? I mean, obviously there's only so much of you and of your team, so you can't hit
Mhm.
everything all at once, but
That's
kind
right.
of what's where you at, and then kind of what do you see as your next steps,
Sure.
beyond the ones you've been already talking about?
Sure. And we have done no paid advertisement on any of this since January. This has all been slow word of mouth spread. And as I mentioned, we're in 48 of the 49 senator districts in Nebraska and 22 states across the nation. We have had people on board, and it's got to be because they know somebody who knows somebody that's heard about us, following us online, seeing those types of things. But one of the most exciting things that happened is we have a new mayor who contacted us the morning after he was elected about 3 weeks ago. And he said that a friend of his told him about our software. And he's a young mayor that embraces technology and is looking for a way to integrate with his people that he now represents. And I thought, oh, he's just going to be a small mayor around. No, he has 180,000 people. So we're working with him right now. He's doing his 100-day listening session, talking to people and allowing people unique and new ways to reach out to him. So it's slowly starting. The spread is happening. We're thrilled.
That's great. Thanks for that
Mhm.
update, Heather. Are
Mhm.
there other questions or curiosities? Hopefully, some of you may have already been on Poll the Vote platform, or you're just checking it out now. And as we get done, you may log in and create an account. But I certainly
Mhm.
would encourage you to do that. It's a great way to start having further interaction. But um,
We do have several polls that are running right now. I actually was reached out, and this is the nice thing too, Jan, is getting to know the Nebraska market and the advocacy groups across the spectrum. People are starting to reach out and say, hey, can you poll on this particular topic? Can you ask what Nebraskans are wanting on this topic? And I'm holding 415 and 258. We were just called on, and these are some of those bills that the people of Nebraska have spoken up about before through the ballot initiative. And so we're looking at doing something around that. I think it'd be interesting to ask Nebraskans what they would want ahead of time in regards to things like the senator term limits and the senator pay, especially since those both issues sound like that if they're going to make it, they would come as a constitutional amendment on our ballot and ask us at an actual election period if we would support those. So those might be things you might see. Right now, the one that seems to be the most popular, and I will say it's absolutely the most sensitive one, is LB 89. We did render last week our first round of data to the senators. So they did get our report on the first version right before the first floor debate. The way that our system works is we leave the polls open until the bill is no longer active. But you can only participate in the poll one time, just like election night, you get one vote. So if you haven't participated yet but want to, that one is open, and I haven't seen it rescheduled for tomorrow. I haven't looked at the calendar yet, but we know that that's probably going to come up again. And as soon as we see it come up, we'll render the data and get a new report out to the senators. And again, we're neutral, nonpartisan. I stop short at telling them how to use the data. That is not for us. Instead, we just bring the people's voices in and provide them with the data reports.
Heather, out of curiosity, do you know roughly
Mhm.
how many people have responded to that poll to date, or the
Yes,
last time you looked?
I do. I looked earlier today. So we are sitting at, it was about 214 this morning. Now, let's talk a little bit about polling. Typical polls that you see are not populist polling, which is what we are doing. So populist polling is where everybody who's in the territory can participate or not, just like on election night. You have the opportunity to render your vote or not. And Gallup will, we recognize them here in Omaha as a significant polling company. They will put out their results when they meet minimum 500 individuals. So honestly, for us, we've got, several thousand that are on the system from Nebraska alone. And I would love to see that 200 go up so that we can meet that 500 threshold, even though we're still rendering the data at any threshold. But yes, please help us get those numbers up, because the higher numbers mean the stronger the data is going to be as well. And we absolutely want people from all walks of life, all parts of Nebraska, everybody across the spectrum of ideology or party. Just like on election night, the stronger we are together, then the more valuable the data will be when the senators get it and can make decisions. I think what's interesting, I know my data scientist is on the line, my data analyst, so I might call him in here. But reflecting back to LB3, when we did the winner take all, we actually did 4 different rounds of stopping and collecting data. And at each time, we had definitely more independent, democratic, liberal individuals coming on. And my answer to that is because they're mobilizing and they are looking for new ways to get involved and render their voices. But when we just took a look at the Republicans that participated at each of those points, the Republicans still were saying, let LB3, not get passed forward. They like the Electoral College system the way that it is. And I think it's interesting, even though we have small numbers and on LB 89, and perhaps it's because people have an anonymized method that they can render their sentiment. Our LB 89 was breaking down the Republican participants, saying it was about a 40 to 60% split. So 40% were saying that they were for LB 89, and the 60% were saying that they were against LB 89, so that they didn't want that bill passed. But that's incredibly close, and that could certainly change as more people come on board and participate, which is absolutely what we want. John, do you have anything to add? I thought I saw you out there. You're out there. Put
I'm
him on the
good.
spot. Hi, this is my business partner and co-founder. He is our CTO, Chief Technology Officer, and also a data analyst, and has been for 39 years. He's amazing. John, anything
Thank
to
you.
add on data?
Um, no, you did a really good job. The way we do our data, like Heather mentioned earlier in the presentation, um, we make it so that not even our own people can see the results and see who has those results. We have a special process where we have to do some magic behind the scenes and attach it into, like specific servers on our system so that we can tie that data together ourselves as the analysts. And we're the only ones that can see that. And that's intentional so that we can, like Heather was talking about, we can secure your data and make it so that it can't be attached one way or the other to any other data on the one side of our system versus the other side.
Mhm. Thank you. And kudos to John, by the way, for being our master architect, for really planning out how to create the technology system. And for those that are interested in technology building or prototyping, there's some amazing what's called dev shops, development shops right here in Nebraska. Ours that we worked with is Apsky out of Omaha, and they've been a phenomenal partner to us behind the scenes on this as well. But today, John and I have our own tech team, our own data team. And of course, since I'm a teacher by day, a professor at heart, we're really, really lucky to have some really good interns that work for us. Right now, we have a data analyst student from Creighton University who works with us. We have a computer science student from Metropolitan Community College who works with us. And our prior social media, or our social media guy, who you see his life online when he's posting for us, was a prior student of mine in a marketing class that I taught 5 years ago. So the old thing really does say, be careful who you sit by and who you know, because you might be working with them, and that's true. We've really been really lucky about being able to handpick some really good people. And by the way, John and I met in 2000 when we started our first master's together at UNO. Again, we sat next to each other and found ourselves on a project for 2 years. We worked for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals on a global project and have remained colleagues and friends since then. So I'm really fortunate. So if nothing else you go away with tonight, be careful who you sit by. You might get pulled in.
Well, I wanted to say thank you, Heather. I don't see any other
Absolutely.
questions. We've had some great feedback, questions, some great comments. Some people have had to step away. And so just want to say thank you for your time and energy in this great endeavor, in this great project, but spending some of your time with us to share about how you got to poll the vote and where you're at today and a little bit about where you're going in the future. And I think hopefully we'll connect up. We'll kind of continue to share this information amongst the league, but in the community as well, as a resource and a place to go and gravitate to. I love the fact the explanation around the data, keeping it private, especially. It's just like going to the polling booth. Only thing we know is if you voted or you returned your ballot. We don't know. No one ever knows how you voted, and that is kept in confidence. So I think from that standpoint, and really knowing and looking at and aggregating all that data and being able to have information,
Mhm.
certainly as you build the numbers to having more respondents will be critical, and we hope that we can help continue to share that word, and look forward to building out a little bit more about the League of Women Voters on Poll the Vote, and some great opportunities as we move forward to potentially collaborate on other initiatives. So I just want to say thank you to Heather and John and all of your team and your time for today. And thanks to all of you for attending today's session. Like I said, we've recorded this and we'll share it out to members and have it available for the future. So thank you very much, and everybody have a great and wonderful evening.
Thank you, Jan. Appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody.